The driveway was frequently a desolate expanse of cracked asphalt, a testament to our negligence echoing. Perhaps the rising void in our marriage tonight. However, it was a wild jumble of cars, not just cars but his cars, 3 of them sparkling beneath. The sodium glare of the streetlights, a cherry-red Porsche, a matte black Range Rover, and a sleek silver Tesla. My blood ran cold. I knew those cars, I'd seen them parked outside, the exclusive restaurant where I'd painstakingly tracked her movements. For the past 3 months, the restaurant where she claimed to be attending a conference, my wife. Elena was standing at the end of the driveway, a picture of carefree elegance, a designer handbag swung from her shoulder, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair catching the light. The silk scarf around her neck, a gift for me for our anniversary, seemed to mock the betrayal. Swirling in my gut, she was oblivious. Blissfully, terrifyingly oblivious. The slam of my car door echoed in the sudden stillness. Elena. Her smile wavered as she noticed me, the neatly created facade crumbling, replaced by a glimmer of something close to terror, but mostly shame, a shallow, superficial guilt that didn't quite reach her eyes. David, she breathed, her voice filled with a practiced sweetness that grated. On my nerves, you're back early. I repeated, my voice low and controlled, a dangerous calm spreading through me. Early. I monitored your conference, Elena. I followed you to the restaurant. I watched you. Her smile vanished, totally replaced by a mask of false serenity. David, there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. I cut her off, my voice rising in intensity. A reasonable explanation for 3 expensive automobiles belonging to the same man parked in my driveway. Is that their reasonable explanation you're going to give me? The terror was there now, unmistakable. In her eyes, the carefully cultivated veneer of sophistication began to crack. She opened her mouth to speak, but I stepped closer, my voice a venomous hiss. Don't even try. I saw you, I saw him. I saw the way he looked at you, the way you laughed, the way you touched him, and you thought you could just waltz back in here, all nonchalant after spending God knows how long with that man. The anger that had been simmering for months, years even, boiled over. It wasn't just the infidelity. It was the lies, the deceit, the blatant disrespect. It was the gradual erosion of our marriage, the slow, agonizing death of a love I believed in. With all my heart, he's a client. She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Avery, important client. It was business. Aloft, a harsh, bitter sound that echoed in the night. Business, is that what you call it now? Business trips to expensive restaurants, business excursions, including passionate kisses and murmured secrets. The words were sharp, intended to cut, to wound. She tried to touch me, her hand reaching out, but I flinched away, the gesture repulsing me. Don't, I said, my voice thick with anger. Don't you dare touch me. I turned my back on her. My heart pounded. The 3 cars symbolized more than just her betrayal. They represented the shattered pieces of my life, the dreams we'd shared, the future I'd envisioned. They were a monument to her selfishness, her disregard for everything we built. I walked towards the house, ignoring her frantic calls inside. I moved with a purpose, born of cold, calculated anger. I grabbed my phone and began making calls. The first was to my lawyer. I laid down my plans for divorce, the details of the property division, the custody arrangements. For our dog Buster, it was swift, efficient, businesslike, in stark contrast to the emotional turmoil swirling inside me. Then I phoned my accountant. Then I called a moving company. Elena's anguished screams and sobbing were a background hum to my carefully staged demolition of our lives. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about recovering my life, my dignity, my sanity. It was about severing the toxic tendrils that had been slowly suffocating me. The next few hours were a whirlwind of packing and phone calls, each one a carefully placed brick in the wall I was building between us. Between her and the life she had so carelessly thrown away. The next day was even more harsh. I filed for divorce. I initiated measures to freeze her assets. I had diligently documented everything over the past 3 months, her expensive lunches, her fancy clothes, her many travels, even the lavish gifts she'd received from her client. My lawyer was thrilled. The evidence was overwhelming. Elena's world began to crumble. The man whose name I discovered was Marco was startled by the quickness and thoroughness of my actions. She believed in Elena's lying hair assurances that she was separated from him, now faced with the impending court struggle and the revelation of her dishonesty. He distanced himself, the costly automobile symbols of her apparent Prosperity became a cruel reminder of her betrayal. News spread quickly within her. Social circles, her carefully created image, the perfect wife, the successful businesswoman, shattered like a fallen vase. The whispers started, the sideways glances, the ostracization. She had built her life on a foundation of lies and deceit, and now that foundation was collapsing. I watched it all unfold from a distance. A grim satisfaction settling over me. It wasn't vindictive pleasure. It was the quiet, somber satisfaction of self-preservation. I had been hurt, betrayed, and humiliated, but I had found the strength to rebuild my life, to reclaim what was rightfully mine. The anger was still there, a simmering ember beneath the surface, but it was now tempered by a sense of peace, a quiet resolve. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Elena walked away with a significantly smaller portion of our assets than she'd expected, a bitter consequence of her defeat. She was left alone, stripped of her luxury, her social standing, and Theman she thought would be her Tito. A life of ease. She had played a dangerous game, and she had lost Ion. The other hand found calm. The house was empty, certainly, but not in a painful sense. It was a clean slate, a blank canvas on which I could paint a new life free from the toxicity of her betrayal. Buster luckily stayed with me. His unwavering love and loyalty were a balm to my wounded soul. One quiet evening, months after the dust settled, I sat on the porch, a glass of wine in my hand. The driveway was empty. The silence was profound, but this time it wasn't filled with the ghosts of our failed marriage. It was a quiet, peaceful silence, testament to the new chapter unfolding. Before me, I had learned a hard lesson about trust and betrayal, but I had also discovered the fortitude and resilience I never knew I possessed. My heart aeds, but it also beat with a renewed feeling of purpose and hope. The world had crashed down around Elena, but for me the dawn had finally broken.